the partner visa relationship and application timeline case study. The hope for these videos is that you get to learn more about relationships that were successful in securing partner visas, get an idea of their relationship facts, perhaps some documents that were provided, so that you and your partner can start implementing those in your case, eventually leading to your own partner visa approval. So this is an example of a double grant, a dual grant, granted to someone from Peru, so a Peruvian applicant, an onshore application for a subclass 820-801, so a combined application, and both were approved. Now, this application was submitted in November 2022 and granted on the 15th of February 2023. So, about a 3-month processing average or 3-month processing time for this double grant. So, quite fast in comparison to a lot of other cases. Some cases will be this fast, some will not be. Hard to say with exact confidence, but often the relationship facts of a couple, in my opinion, are probably the main processing factor. So, let's have a look at their relationship. So that was the processing time frame, the application timeline. Let's look at the relationship timeline. So this couple met online in February 2017. Now, keep in mind, this application was lodged in November 2022. Whenever we talk about relationship milestones in history, always view it within the context of when it was submitted, okay? Because it's all about time of application criteria, and you want to know what the couple's facts were prior to applying, which is what we do when we speak to couples and planning, mapping out when would be a good time to submit. So, February 2017, they met online. Very common these days, of course. Met in person in April 2017, then went on a date and started dating exclusively in April 2017, introduced to the sponsor's family. So typically that's obviously the Australians' family here, which is very common for onshore partner visas where they meet the partner's family, the sponsor's family, because they're here and they often may not have met the applicant's family. So the Australian partner often hasn't met the applicant's family overseas because obviously they're here and they just haven't got around to traveling overseas to visit family. They still meet them online and virtually, so to speak, but not necessarily in person, just to be clear. They went on a holiday in November 2017, introduced to the applicant's family in November 2017, which I presume would have been maybe on a Zoom call or on a video call or some type of WhatsApp group chat. Very common. Then started living together in November 2017. Okay, so living together, November 2017, partner visa submitted November 2022. Okay, then they purchased a car together in August 2018, engaged in March 2019, opened up joint accounts in May 2022, married in May 2022, purchased property in July 2022, nominated each other as beneficiaries to their super policies in July 2022, engaged our services in August 2022, and then registered relationship with Centrelink in September 2022, and then eventually the partner visa was submitted in November, as I said, 2022. Okay, so at the time of application, looking at those facts, at the time of application, the couple were only married for 6 months, roughly, prior to lodgement. Okay, and the application took obviously well less than 2 years, but they were still granted the double grant, which means that the department accepted that they were still in a long-term relationship at the time of application, which to me was a combination of being married for 6 months and then being able to demonstrate that they were de facto for another 2.5 years, because that's the requirement. If you can show you've been in a long-standing relationship, which is 3 years as a de facto plus or married couple for 3 years before you apply, you may be eligible to receive the double grant as this couple were. And given they were only married for 6 months, it suggests that they accepted 2.5 years of de facto prior to that, which isn't surprising given that they were engaged in March 2019. So they were engaged for more than 3 years prior to lodgement. Now, engagement doesn't mean they were de facto necessarily, but it's obviously a good indicator. And they had already lived together for a couple of years prior to that as well. So, when couples present these types of facts, these types of milestones in history, and they ask the question, Martin, do you think we'll get the double grant? I will typically say something along the lines of, look, comparing your milestones to other couples that we have received double grants for, I would be confident. However, the asterisk is that I can't guarantee that or predict that with ultimate confidence, because it is quite subjective. And every now and then you get couples that present these types of good length relationship facts and still may not get the double grant. Every now and then that happens. So it's quite unpredictable. So the summary here is that the couple met 66 months prior to lodgement. Probably should display that in years just to keep it simple, but it's just the way we've got it here. Started dating exclusively, similarly, around 66 months prior to lodgement. Started cohabitating, 60 months prior to lodgement. Started pooling finances 6 months prior to lodgement. So that's an interesting point. They'd been together for a very long time, engaged, living together, but hadn't got around to opening up joint accounts. And that doesn't mean that they're not in a de facto relationship just because they don't have joint accounts. Joint accounts are always something we recommend, but it has to be within the context of the relationship as a whole, whether or not it's going to be a problem. And this is an example of even having joint accounts for 6 months, factoring in the rest of their history was not only sufficient for the partner visa to be approved, but the double grant, meaning this applicant from Peru received their permanent residency in 3 months. Nominated each other as beneficiaries to their super policies 3.5 months prior to lodgement, and were, only married, 5.5, 6 months prior to lodgement. So interesting case, another example of a double grant. And I hope that you've learned more about partner visa timelines and relationship timelines. Again, an idea of what you might be able to implement in your relationship to get you closer to your partner visa approval. Of course, as always, if you're interested in working with our team to secure your partner visa, we invite and welcome you to book your free roadmap call. There should be a link somewhere around this video to book a call with our team, and we look forward to chatting with